Weapon engineers Stoner and Kalashnikov pose with each other's rifles. This happened in the USA in 1990. The first strip club in London, 1958. Sean Young breaks character with Jim Carrey during Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, the 1990s. Civil rights activist James Zwerg after being beaten by a white mob in Alabama, 1961. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates are talking about the personal computer's future at Jobs' home in Palo Alto in 1991. David Bowie is taking a smoke break outside the Carlyle on Madison Avenue. He was there for a press conference. This was in New York, 1983. Sandra Bullock in the 1980s. A Communist Party election campaign was held in England in 1928. Western Union Messenger Boys, Hartford, Connecticut, 1912. Actress Raquel Welch on the set of the film Myra Breckenridge in Los Angeles, 1970. Brigitte Bardot in the 1950s. Osama bin Laden, far right, Oxford, 1971. Soldiers from Poland and Hungary shake hands at the new common border after the occupations of Czechoslovakia, 1939. A steam hydraulic forge press made by Krupp in Germany. It's from the 1920s. Trinity Test Fireball, 0.044 seconds after detonation, July 16, 1945. Brigitte Bardot, 1960. Cyndi Lauper before her rise to fame at the Pulitzer Hotel in Amsterdam on November 19, 1980. A concentration camp inmate, reduced by starvation to a living skeleton, delouses his clothes, April 17 to 18, 1945. Crowds at the Lustgarten, right next to the Royal Palace in Berlin, on August 1, 1914, waiting for the declaration of war. Security guards at a 1939 pro-Nazi rally, put on by the German-American Bund, are dealing with a Jewish protester. He rushed the stage to attack the speaker, Fritz Julius Kuhn, who was the leader of the Bund. The protester was 26-year-old plumber Isidore Greenbaum. A U.S. Navy crew member rescued a kitten named George, who was in danger of drowning. After being saved, George became a mascot for the crew. He was even photographed, officially given a Liberty Card, and had a detailed health record, all in 1944. A Freedom Summer worker and an African-American child are sitting on the porch of the Ruleville Community Center in Ruleville, Mississippi. This was September of 1964. Children in Harlem, New York, 1977. President Jimmy Carter is with Olusegun Obasanjo, the leader of Nigeria, in 1977. Welsh wrestler Adrian Street with his coal miner father, 1974. Benjamin Bowden showing off the Space Lander, 1946. Winston Churchill and his daughter, Mary Spencer Churchill, in London, around 1943. Petit Pascal and Jean-Paul Belmondo, 1960. Dog Albina, a participant in experiments on launching space rockets into near-Earth space. This happened in Moscow in 1957. "15-year-old Claudette Colvin refused to give up her bus seat to a white passenger in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, 9 months before Rosa Parks. She was arrested, found guilty of violating segregation laws. Janet Leigh is hanging out with the Pittsburgh Pirates around 1951. Halle Berry at the Miss World Beauty Contest, 1986, USA. A strapless bra in New York, 1949. Kurt Russell on the right and his stunt double, Dick Warlock, on the set of Escape from New York, 1981. Drew Barrymore with a cat, the 1980s. George H.W. Bush being rescued by the USS Finback after being shot down over Chichijima Island on September 2, 1944. A bishop from the Knanaya community. This is an ancient Syriac Christian ethnic group from southern India. This is from the early 20th century. On October 26, 1988, Soviet sailors performed a heroic act, rescuing a family of whales trapped in ice off the coast of Alaska. Diane Parkinson, 1985. Cats wearing glasses are advertising in the window of an optician's shop. This is in Paris in 1925. It's a Japanese propaganda magazine. There's a caricature of Franklin Delano Roosevelt on the cover of a manga magazine. The date on the magazine is August 1943. Soviet IS-3 heavy tanks at the Berlin Victory Parade. It was marking their public debut. The date was September 7, 1945. Dolly Parton and Carl Dean, 1964. September 1953. Teenagers at a party hosted by teenage cookbook author Betty Betts. You've got teenage girls pulling taffy while others watch. Dita Von Teese in the 1990s. Princess Grace of Monaco visiting John F. Kennedy at the White House in 1961. Socialist fraternal kiss. Soviet leader Joseph Stalin is kissing pilot Vasily Molotov. Vyacheslav Molotov is watching. This happened in July 1937. A large alligator in Louisiana during the 1870s. This monster weighs almost 400 kilograms. What a dinosaur! A DC-4 passenger jet flies over downtown New York City in 1939. The mascot of the USS Pennsylvania is amusing some of the sailors. This happened between 1917 and 1918. Kate Moss in the 1990s. In the 1950s, Vizomatic was like the Amazon Prime of its time. It was a store that had televisions. Customers would sit down and order products off the screen. Then they'd head home while the company shipped the purchases directly to them. There are women mud racing on Harley Davidsons in 1948. A lady from Zanzibar, Tanzania is posing for the camera sometime in the 1890s. The flags of Zanzibar and Kenya were added on December 16, 1963, to the 111 flags already flying in front of the United Nations headquarters. War news printed right before your eyes. That's the latest method for displaying bulletins by big newspapers. There are mechanical bulletin printing machines in the window of a Cincinnati newspaper from 1917 to 1918. Homemade four-wheeler, England, 70s to the 80s. August 1985, Brazil. Workers nicknamed hormigueros, or ants, inch their way up and down the steep face of Serra Pelada, also known as Naked Mountain. The boys found this sign in the shed behind their rental house and put it in the front yard on University of Florida game days. The sign said, University of Florida, 1999. Matthew McConaughey, Longview High School, Texas, 1988. Audrey Hepburn doing ballet in 1956. Atom-blasted seeds, a souvenir of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, the Atomic City, 1958. A wounded man is being transferred at sea. The image depicts a vessel, possibly a warship, as it transfers a patient on a stretcher from a smaller boat. The small boat is positioned alongside the larger vessel. A man on the smaller boat is assisting with the transfer. The patient is being lifted up towards the ship. Several sailors are visible on the deck of the warship. One sailor is holding a rope. Florida, around 1897. People are duck shooting from the steamboat Clio on the Indian River. Michael Jordan as a freshman at the University of North Carolina in 1982. It's a beauty pageant in communist Hungary in 1985. Sigourney Weaver at the Tail of the Pup, Los Angeles in 1983. The excavation of an ancient Assyrian lamassu in the city of Dur-Sharukin, which is also known as Khorsabad. There's a young woman and her dog at a park. This was around the 1950s. The Yakuza in Osaka, Japan, 1960. A couple is sitting on the roof of a futuristic seaplane in 1930. School children from the Frunze Palace of Pioneers are studying in a technical creativity club with their robot. This took place in the Kyrgyz Soviet Socialist Republic in 1965. Tokyo Fire Department firefighters were operating inside Kasumi Gaseki Station, wearing chemical protective clothing after the Tokyo subway sarin attack in March 1995. 14 people died, and over 1,000 were injured. Marlene Dietrich. Waiting for parcels at the Jewish Joint Distribution Committee distribution stand and at the aid station, Schlachtensee Transport Camp, Zehlendorf, Berlin, 1947. An Inuit woman with a child, Alaska, 1947. Jane Mansfield is eating in her kitchen. It's 1955. December 8, 1991. The leaders of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus signed the Treaty on the Commonwealth of Independent States in Minsk, which led to the dissolution of the USSR. William Beebe, with his bathysphere and crew, arrived in New York in 1932. There's a Victorian-era man dressed in traditional Japanese attire. He's holding a fan and a sword, representing the handsome style of Victorian men. President Kennedy's about to be forcefully fed 2 pounds of pasta. 1963. Run DMC, Beastie Boys and a DJ in 1987. Will Smith, also known as the Fresh Prince, and DJ Jazzy Jeff are posing together on the balcony of a Holiday Inn in London in 1986. American actor Tony Curtis watches with undisguised amazement as his wild and beautiful co-star Monsieur Cognac makes a spectacular jump in 1964. Arnold Schwarzenegger's happy to have caught Wally, or Waldo, if you're reading this in the United States, at a yacht party in 1979. Police storm barricades in the Latin Quarter of Paris in May of 1968. Stewardess for Pacific Southwest Airlines in the 1970s. A family orders ice cream from the colored side of the counter at an Alabama eatery. This was in 1956. In 1952, home audio technology was undergoing a revolution, and hi-fi tube record players became the centerpiece of modern living rooms. Willie Mays congratulates Roberto Clemente after getting his 3,000th career hit, which happened in 1972. The first Apple computer, 1976. In the 1880s, the popular way of moving goods and people across the western United States was by stagecoach. It was a long route, with lots of stagecoach stops every few hours along the way. A young Chris Rock, 1975. New York, 1958. There are dancers in a nightclub playing chess. Smartphones haven't been invented yet. Pam Grier from the 1970s. (1956) Young Teddy Boys somewhere in England. This is the Dresden Frauenkirche in Germany. It was constructed from 1726 to 1743 and destroyed in 1945 during the bombing of Dresden in World War II. During 1943, a Japanese mini-submarine was captured in the Aleutian Islands. The same type of submarine was examined again in 2021. Charlotte Greenwood demonstrates stretching at MGM Studios in 1928 in the United States. Taiwanese Aboriginal Saisiot hunters and their Formosan mountain hunting dogs, taken in 1939 during the Japanese colonial occupation. A Spahi of the 3rd BS during the winter of 1940 in the Ardennes. The woman realizes that the body under the blanket is her mother. President Richard Nixon is playing the piano at Blair House in Washington, D.C. in 1971. The movie theater, it had a real 90s aesthetic. It was all about neon signs and big, bold fonts. Think bright colors, like electric blue, hot pink, and maybe some yellow. The snack bar was stocked with popcorn, candy, and soda. There was a giant poster for whatever the biggest blockbuster was at the time. J.V. Stalin, the leader and teacher of mankind in the struggle for peace, democracy, and socialism. East Germany, 1949. A Girl with Milk Buckets on Walcheren Island in the Zeeland province of the Netherlands in 1946. In 1946, the Philippines gained independence from the United States, 44 years to the day after the Philippine-American War ended. Walt Disney is tasting Argentina's famous asado in 1941. Mother Teresa returns to Albania in 1991 after being banned for decades by Enver Hoxha, the dictator. She was welcomed back by the first democratic leader, Dr. Sali Berisha. An ethnic German is pointing out a Pole as someone who allegedly took part in anti-German violence in Bydgoszcz during Bloody Sunday. Poles identified this way were usually shot on the spot. This happened in September 1939. There's a teapot-shaped cafe in Bedford, Pennsylvania, in 1943. A Child in a Tiger Costume, Beijing, China, 1919. Lunchables and thermos lunches, that brings me back. Students are on their way to class during the 1960s, and they're not carrying any backpacks. Rooftop Walk, New York, 1940. This is a Yokosuka Oka Type 11 kamikaze bomb aircraft. It's from Japan, and the year is 1945. German soldiers are riding camels in the North Caucasus during World War II. France, 1997. 122-year-old Jeanne Calment is at her computer. Female cyclists, 1946. There's a monk at the Temple of Azure Clouds, a Buddhist temple in the eastern part of the Western Hills. It's just outside the north gate of Fragrant Hills Park in Beijing, China, around 1915 to 1920.